Hello, welcome back to the MMA Split podcast, and back in video, audio, in person, sitting next to each other. I can physically touch him, assault him. I'm not going to do that. Though. I am, of course, Matt, joined by...
I am Josh.
Who is, once again, producer.
Well, not that we're really doing much production today. It's just going to be the one camera shot.
You're the one uploading it, mate. That you're the one doing all of the descriptions and the links this time. You are definitely producer. I am simply the host, here to take you through everything that's happened in the last week or so of the MMA world. Big event, main thing to talk about is, of course, UFC 283 in the books. First pay-per-view card of the year. Back with a bang. Plenty of excitement, controversy, 2 title fights, 2 new champions. One was vacant, one won the belt against a current champion.
Well, he was interim, so just going from champ to undisputed.
Very true. Couple of retirements, another retirement of division, and I would say one of the shittest crowds that we've ever seen.
How are you gauging that? What do you feel made them a shit crowd?
Everybody left at the end. That's about as shit of a crowd as you can get. The main event by round 5 was 10% full.
Yeah, I think if you haven't kind of gotten to grips with Brazilian crowds, like super fucking passionate, but with that emotion, it's like the other side of the coin is not always going to be the most stoic in defeat. I thought we saw that. You see how quick Moreno sprinted out.
Yeah, see
with
that
a shit ton of drinks raining down on him.
I can at least understand that, because that's a shitty way to see your country's champ go out in a bit of a one-sided, not overly thrilling contest compared to certainly their 2 of their first 3 matchups. The main event, though, that's the one that killed me. And if I'm honest as well, wasn't that full for a lot of the prelims. Didn't really get full until maybe like the first fight on the main card.
I'll tell you what though, I did notice that they had Miss Brazil in there, like from the fucking get-go in her seat, but like actually like really into it watching the fights. Which
well,
I think
somebody was.
Anytime you have like a guest come in, it's not that often that they're actually there for the first fight. So obviously she must be a bit of a fan of the sport. She seemed pretty kind of G'd up for it. So I thought that it's kind of nice when you have a guest come in and they actually fucking care about why they're there and they want to be there.
That's cool, and I will give you that. And I don't want to start talking about the crowd. It's just one of the many things that we've got to discuss, as well as a little bit of news. We'll touch on that after our breakdown of the card. A couple of big title fights added, or about to be added, I should say, to UFC 285. So plenty of exciting things around the corner. But first things first, guys, leave a like, comment, tell us what your thoughts were on the card. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button on our new channel that we'll be moving to. We will be phasing out of the MMA Split channel onto the MMA Split podcast channel, where this podcast will be able to be found.
So this one's dropping on both channels. Hopefully you're watching this on the new channel. If not, don't worry, we're going to keep this up for a while. So probably do, I don't know, sort of 4 weeks or something. Do the simultaneous uploads, and then everything will just be available on the new channel. We'll move over some of like the key old episodes. Definitely move over the Sam Alvey interview.
All Eric the interviews, Anders, I think.
Yeah, both of them, yeah. I mean, do you want to put in some of the other ones where we have like the boxing briefs? Anytime we get like Laurie, Tom, Elliot on?
The only thing with the boxing briefs is they are kind of time relevant, like... You know what I mean? Obviously, we're discussing things.
We don't have a lot of guests on,
point.
So I kind of like the idea of bringing over all the ones with guests on them. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay, we could do that. It's a new channel. We need to fill it.
Yeah, Laurie's a sizable part of our fan base, so
he would appreciate that. Leave a comment, Laurie. Leave a comment if you're still watching the video. If you're still enjoying our content. Hope Holland is treating you well. With that all out of the way, let's discuss 283. Let's discuss the main event. Glover was facing the young, up-and-coming Lion. We talked about it. I felt it was going to be too fast for him. I completely accepted that Jamal Hill had lucked, finazooled, situationed his way into this fight, into this opportunity, just the right things falling in the right order for him at the right time. Man takes advantage of it, man. Deserves a lot of credit for a smart, good fight. I'm going to pass it over to you, but I will say this. He did not beat the same Glover that Yuri beat.
No, I mean, when we made the picks, I did say it hinged entirely on Glover still being able to compete at the same level he did last time out. He looked every day, every minute of those 43 years. I mean, 3 or 4 times in that first round, he timed it perfectly. I thought he had the takedown secured, and Hill almost effortlessly just kind of blows him off. I don't want to discredit Hill's ability to kind of read the situation. Maybe Hill was a little stronger in his stance than he kind of looked from the outside, but it did kind of look a lot like Glover just didn't have it in him to kind of run the pipe or drive through on a double. Just couldn't do it. And I don't know why DC was kind of saying on the commentary, like maybe he's kind of trying to feel him out, give him something to think about. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. The only place you want Hill in that fight is on his back with you laying on top, raining down elbows. So
it was
from the get-go. And I think that's a large part of the reason the stadium was empty by the 5th. It must have been hard for those Brazilians watching their legend, their light heavyweight champ, just not have it in him. Just not be able to do anything more than kind of just stand there and take the abuse. And fair play to him for getting to the end of the fight, because second round, I thought he was fucking out of there by the time the fucking 4th round rolled around.
4th round was rough for him.
A miracle he got to the end of that one.
4th round was rough.
Hella tough, but
the problem is, I kind of felt about 2 minutes into the first round, it doesn't look like it's going to be a good night for Glover. Because if you're Glover and you can't get the takedown,
yeah,
there's no way that you outstrike Hill in this fight. Like, maybe you catch him with a monster right hand or a big left hook. Shit happens, but it's not what I would expect to happen over a 25-minute fight. There was just, it's hard to say, oh, well, Glover looks slow, because he's been 40, he was 42 when he won the belt. He wasn't exactly quick at 42. So it's not so much a case of like, oh, his movement around the octagon looked any slower.
He wasn't quick in his 20s.
Exactly. But when he got on that single leg in the Yuri fight, he was driving through, getting that takedown. There was still that explosivity. He was lifting the leg up, getting him off balance, and getting him down. The takedowns felt half-hearted here against Hill. It just felt like he was half going for them and not fully believing he was going to get it and just retreating away. And for me, that feels like that's his age catching up with him. That's just something that just doesn't feel like he's got that same amount of explosion. And I don't know if it's an energy thing. I don't know if it's if there was an injury maybe that he had. I don't know if it's just really good technique from Jamal Hill. I thought one thing he did a much better job of than Yuri did is staying a little bit more set with his feet, moving around and making the adjustments and, defending when he needed to defend against takedowns, but being a bit more set so that he can counter and hit Glover on the way in with meaningful shots. Whereas I think Yuri was trying to be so light on his feet and constantly moving around that he didn't quite get himself in those same situations to set and really land with power.
Although, to be honest, like, you do want to be a bit lighter and you want to be sprawling in those situations, not looking to kind of throw off a single leg. And there was I think 3 times in the first round where Hill hadn't quite overextended, but it was just the case that the shot landed and it shouldn't have made a bit of difference. He should have then lost the position and wound up on his back. It's just that Glover couldn't finish.
And listen, Hill deserves a huge amount of credit. I think he looked really well prepared, stayed really composed, did a really good job of not rushing anything, not overextending, landing his big shots, landing combinations when he could. But a lot of times, particularly the first couple of rounds, was just those little, teep kicks to the body. Just touching him, just making him work, just taking some of the air out of the tyres. What I do think, though, is that Glover being a step off, the Glover that fought Yuri, I'd say kind of round 3, I thought Hill was starting to look a little tired, and he had the time and space and the fight happening in his own pace to just regather his composure, take the break that he needed and
Well,
then start.
the volume was still unreal. 232 significant strikes landed, 402 thrown.
That's a good
It's
effort.
insane at 205. That breaks Vittoria's record against Costa.
That's impressive.
Which
But-
obviously comes with a bit of an asterisk there as well, because he didn't have to cut weight for that one.
But you know what I mean? The Glover of a year ago might recognise in round 3, okay, Hill's actually like
Oh, well,
he's
not even
burning
that,
out
like,
a little bit. This
the
is
way
the
he
moment.
was fighting in that first round, not sprawling, staying a little too in the pocket, and thinking that it's going to be worth exchanging shots when he comes in on a level change entry. He should have been punished for that. He should have wound up on his back. A year ago fighting Glover, he would have definitely lost that first round, and who knows where it would have gone from there. So I think Hill's technique was good in a lot of areas, but I think in terms of the actual takedown defense and the defensive footwork, it was far from perfect. He kind of got let off the hook a little bit. Obviously, he still landed some great shots. He definitely took it out of Glover, but I'm thinking even if I want to say like Hill fought a good fight and there was some good technique in there, it's going to be like 30-70, 70 being just the wheels had fucking fallen off for Glover. It was just
It
one
really
fight
had,
too far.
I mean, let's talk about Glover's toughness, because the wheels fell off. It was not looking good. And probably kind of knew after the first round it wasn't likely he was going to pull this out the bag.
I think he knew after the first takedown, or the first failed takedown.
He hung in there for all 5 rounds, dude. And I didn't think he was going to pull that off. He did. After about round 3, I was just looking at it going, you really need to retire, mate. I don't know if I want to sit here as a fan and watch you at this age take this kind of beating, because it gets to a point. It's like, how do you know when a fighter's old? Well, because it gets to a point where he gets hit and people are just like, is he still alive? Is he still alive? Is he okay? Is he going to recover from that?
Well, I don't know. What would you say was worse or more one-sided?
We'll get to Lauren Murphy.
Yeah, because I
We'll
would
get
say
to Lauren Murphy.
that fight was a lot worse and a lot more mismatched.
She didn't take the same level of damage that he took, though.
Because it was 3 rounds.
Yeah, but she still took less damage.
Yeah, but I think if you take that 4th and 5th round out, it's like, I'd say over those 3 rounds, Murphy's probably taken more damage. She's had her ass kicked worse than
Murphy hasn't taken the same level of damage in her career as Glover has. That's the thing that kind of you looked at it, you know, and particularly after the Yuri fight, I'm really glad he retired. It's just time,
he has to
man.
at that point. It's what else are you gonna do? And I mean, even just watching Alex Pereira warm him up, just the size difference. It's like, yeah, inevitably Alex is going to be looking at 205. What are you going to do? Try and outmaneuver your own student into getting the first title shot before him? How old would you be? Like, of course he was going to retire. I mean, shit, if he won, he was probably going to retire. There wasn't
had
really a
that
lot.
feel, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the Brazilian crowd left. He didn't get to have his true goodbye moment like Shogun did. It was...
There was enough for the crowd there, and I would say the ones that left are probably the ones you're going to worry about the least. I mean, how many times have you sat in a football stadium all the way to the end of the game knowing you're going to be sitting in a shit ton of traffic or getting on a very busy carriage or whatever, even though there's no point, your team's 3-0, 4-0 down, but you don't leave because you can't leave, and you sit there and you're like, there's a little part of it's like, I'm proud that I'm staying to the end, but I know I'm a mug. So I think that you should honour the fighters, you should respect them by staying till the end, but I totally get why some of the Brazilian crowd didn't want to see their boy just on the wrong end of an arse whipping and finishing out his career like that.
And after the Figgy situation as well, they weren't delighted. I get
well,
that.
Figgy kind of fucked with my emotions there, making it look like he was going to retire. Like, you don't take gloves off to change weight classes. That was...
I think he just took his gloves off in that situation, but Glover did not. He retired after the fight, said pretty accurately he's a bit too tough for his own good. I think that's probably true. He's got Pereira coming through. He's going to be a great coach. In my mind, this fight, the Yuri fight, him winning the belt, I think this squeaks him into the Hall of Fame one day.
I would have thought so. Yeah, legacy is secured at least anyway, but I think winning a belt at 42...
And then to have to lose it in a fight of the year, one of the best fights ever, and then to come back and have that kind of tough showing, even in a loss in
Is
your
he,
last
is he the
ever
oldest
fight.
fighter to win a belt? How old was Randy Couture?
Randy was 45 when he won, at his oldest point of winning a belt. But Randy was younger when he won his first UFC belt, so it's a difficult. And obviously DC was younger, but DC was a belt holder when he was 41.
So yeah, winning a belt at 42, I think, is probably going to get you into the Hall of Fame on top of the rest of your career as well. Just
And also, man, I mean, even if you just put that, he'll be in the Hall of Fame just for that fight against Yuri alone. That will be a fight entry for the Hall of Fame. It's
although if I'm Glover, that's not enough for me at this point. I don't want a fight going into the Hall of Fame. I want me in the Hall of Fame. I think that's where his career is kind of. Well, that would be the appropriate kind of legacy for him.
Well, we'll touch on the Hall of Fame because I have some thoughts on this. And obviously, we had an induction into the Hall of Fame that definitely needs to be discussed. Congratulations, Jose Aldo. Just quickly, before we finish up on talking about the main event, love the emotion from Hill. Love seeing how much it means to guys when the final bell rang and he knew he was the champ. Love that. Love the show of respect between him and Glover. Glover walking out with him to make sure he doesn't get pelted with drinks and beer bottles in the same way that Brandon Moreno did. Hill's in a weird spot because a lot of people are going to feel like he didn't beat the Glover that Yuri beat. There'll be a lot of people that look at him as an easy champ to take the belt from. Aside from Ankalaev, I think Hill's got as good a chance as anybody else in a lot of the matchups available at light heavyweight.
Yeah, I think it's feasible he could go on, sort of like a 3 or 4 fight streak here, as long as Ankalaev isn't in those immediate kind of title challenges. It's just, as soon as he gets to someone that is going to be quick enough in his mind not to eat too many of those sort of explosive shots and has a good enough sort of base in wrestling, it's going to be able to take him down quite easily when he comes forward. It's going to be a much more sort of difficult stylistic matchup for him, but he's not like he is there on merit. The number 6 means fuck all. Blachowicz and Ankalaev shat the bed. Yuri's injured. Someone had to fight for the belt, and coming in, people didn't know that this was going to be one fight too far for Glover. The odds were pretty fucking even. I think by the end, Hill was a slight favourite.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if people are saying that, it's because they're the kind of people that are going to say shit whatever the weather. None of these people, their opinions don't truly matter. Hill was a worthy champion, and it's going to be tough for anyone to beat him here. Even someone like Ankalaev. It's not a fucking foregone conclusion. I think the odds would be reasonably close. You still got to go out there and be on your best night to have a good shot at really putting him away. And if it goes the distance, he is a tough fucking guy. So, yeah, I like Hill a lot. I think Hill's a good champ. I'm gutted for Glover, but man, Hill's just got the world at his feet now.
He's in that great situation where he hasn't fought a lot of these guys ranked in the top 10. In fact, I think the only win that he might have had against somebody in the top 10 was Thiago Santos, who's now no longer in the UFC. And obviously Glover, who's now also retired. So he's in a position where all of those fights that might have been on a smaller salary that you'd have to win to get to your title shot, you now have the opportunity to fight as the champion with pay-per-view points, with the champion salary. He's got a great opportunity. And I like Jamal Hill a lot. I think he's a cool guy. I think he's a good fighter. A lot of people are shitting on him. And I think that's unfair. You can only beat the person that you can beat in front of you.
These people are going to shit on anybody. Whatever happens, just there are always going to be naysayers. The negative Nancys. And shit like that just kind of sells papers. So you see journalists and stuff writing it. It's all just kind of clickbait. I take all of that with a pinch of salt. They all know better than that. They're not writing it because that's what they believe. They're writing it because they just want a bit of fucking attention.
Well, we talked a lot about the main event. Let's talk about the co-main event. I thought this was going to be the one we'd be talking about for the whole show.
Yeah, I jinxed this one on the
4
walkout.
fights, 3, and to be honest, there's a pattern that develops here. First fight was a great fight, extremely close, draw. Second fight, terrific performance from Brandon Moreno. Brandon wins. Third fight, great fight. Close, could have gone either way. Figgy gets the nod. Next one, Brandon kind of dominates. It just feels like when Figgy's the slightly more switched on one, he can win, but it's pretty damn close. But if he's a step off and Brandon's the more switched on one, he runs through him.
Maybe, man. I mean, I think it just came down to cutting too much fucking weight.
I think there's an element there. I think there's an element of one guy's been declining during these 4 fights while the other guy's been improving.
You say that, but the guy in decline did win the last fight.
He did, but I think he made very specific adjustments. And Brandon had shown the ability to adjust to his adjustments. And it didn't feel like Figueiredo had an extra something that he could bring out a little bit.
Well, yeah, he just looked very...
I mean, he's
I don't
35.
want to say he looked slow, but he was.
He's
he was
35 years old at 125. Like it's.
He was conserving his energy pretty much the whole way through, just kind of looking for big counter shots. And Moreno came out with a much more kind of patient, methodical style. So, I was watching this one with Kate. Messaged her on the walkout. You know, I think this one's going to be an absolute war. And then it was a little bit more of a chess match across the first 2 rounds. Third round a little bit more crazy. That shot that he got him with, that cut the eye.
Completely legal.
Yeah, beautiful left hook. No complaints to Figgy as well, thinking it was an eye poke. You know, because the hand coming over afterwards, you know, just got the same as the Dragon Mason Jones against. I can't remember. He pushes off the shoulder.
I know
slips,
exactly the one you're talking about. I can't remember
lands
the
in the
guy's
head.
name.
You know, he kind of slips off the shoulder, hits the head, and then comes down the other side. So for Figgy, it's just I've got a tear here flapping away. I think I feel something. Like it's impossible to kind of call your own fouls. Very stupid to try and call your own timeout. So, you know, that can be a quick way to get a ref to wave off a fight.
The problem is as well is I know that the scorecards were officially 2-1 with I think 1-10-8 for the third round for Moreno. Most people feel like Moreno was comfortably winning that fight. This isn't one of those. This feels to me a little bit like the Nate Diaz-Masvidal fight, where you can have some moans and some whinges about the exact manner of when the fight and how the fight got stopped. But there's nobody that's going to say that any of the evidence on show didn't suggest that the fight was going in one very specific direction.
Yeah, but then also because Figgy had seemed to kind of sacrifice all the speed and cardio for power. You never know. Going into the 4th, 5th round, it's only going to be one shot. It's just, you know, that had to be a doctor's stoppage.
But
Can't be rude about it.
I suppose my argument to that would be that even when Moreno's been caught clean and dropped by those power shots from Figgy, he's shown an ability to recover quickly and survive. I mean, Brandon Moreno is as hard a man in that weight class to finish as any other.
We've talked about this before, though. Like, proving that you have a chin is the fastest way to lose a chin.
Agreed.
So the guy's gotten up from these shots before. It's the same as being like, yeah, Glover's timeless. He's definitely got a really good chance against Hill. Eventually, it stops. You know, your chin is the same as Father Time, undefeated. It always goes. You know, nothing lasts forever. Even Chuck Liddell lost his fucking chin.
True, but I'd say in Moreno's case, it's not like we've seen him take like an obscene number. We've just seen him being hit in the previous fight in 2 different rounds and dropped by that big shot before, and it didn't fully put him out. Now, obviously, you don't want those to accumulate, but I would still think at his age and with the amount of damage taken that even if in the 4th or the 5th round one of those land, and listen, you never know. Glover could have knocked Jamal Hill out if he didn't mind his P's and Q's at the end. Like, any shot can knock anybody out. I just watched, as we were talking pre-recording, the first episode of Dana White's Power Slap. Right, and I did not realise I was going to see so many people get knocked out with slaps, but it happens. You catch somebody in the right side. Shit happens. What I do feel, 4 fights in, 2 finishes for Moreno. A lot of people saying he could have squeaked the 3rd fight as well. And even in that 3rd fight, I felt like he won the majority of the fight. It was just that he got badly dropped in 2 different rounds, and it's very difficult to then not give those rounds in Figueiredo's favour. I feel we can say that at this point in time, across the period that they fought, Brandon is just deserves to just be that bit ahead of Figueiredo. As you've pointed out, if this fight was to ever happen at 135, I think we'd see a pretty one-sided fight in Figueiredo's favour. I don't think...
Yeah, I don't see Moreno moving up to 35 before Figgy retires. It's just... There's no fifth fight on the cards. I wanted to see 10. We get 4. By MMA standards, that's pretty fucking good.
But at that weight class, I think Brandon Moreno is the better guy. Figgy's going to move up to 135. I don't like his chances at 135 at the age of 35. I think he's going to have some hard fights. Like, do you see him beating Peter Yan?
Maybe. Here's the thing though, it's a small window for him. Like, right now, at 35, I expect him to have a lot of power and speed. He's not going to be the strongest or the fastest guy in the division, but in terms of matching speed and power, potentially he could be one of the more explosive guys in the division. Tough as well. I know he has got more of a brawling style, but the truth is, like, there's a lot of technique behind it. I would give him an okay chance in most of those fights with the top 5. You know, I wouldn't put him as a favourite, but I wouldn't think that he was going to be a huge dog. You know, he's got enough of a chance that it makes it interesting for me. Do I think he's going to win a bout at 35? No. But I think he can fucking push some people. He could probably get 3 or 4 fights in before he retires. I think he could be a really fun bantamweight.
Listen, we all owe, and the UFC owe him 50% of a huge amount of credit for making flyweights interesting, man. Real interesting. He's going to leave that division in a good spot, and I'm kind of excited to see Moreno versus Pantoja.
Yeah.
3? Pantoja?
Yeah.
2?
Well, their second fight was in the Ultimate Fighter House, so it's an exhibition fight. So technically, he has beaten him twice, but only one of those is on the professional record.
Well, it's a rematch either way, and will be a great fight. Congrats to the Assassin Baby. Long may he reign. Right, well, that's the title fights out of the way. Let's talk about some pretty one-sided ass whoopings, starting with Gilbert Burns, who...
I mean, what do you actually want to say on this fight?
It looks a lot like when Shavkat Rakhmonov beat Neil Magny. Just as soon as you get a good grip on him, get him on his back. There's
a reason Burns didn't want this fight, and it's because he knew it was going to do nothing for him. No disrespect to Magny at all.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, Magny's long frame makes for a kind of an awkward style where up against the fence he can kind of frame off and come at weird angles and make it difficult for guys. Someone as stocky, small, powerful, and technically proficient as Burns was always going to run through him like a hot knife through butter. You know, just... There were some mismatches here on paper. There were some easy picks for us to make.
He's actually like a fucking turtle, though, Neil Magny, in the sense of, like, as soon as you put him on his back, all this great jiu-jitsu and solid wrestling, it just goes out the window. He just doesn't quite deal with it very well.
Yeah, well, I did think that potentially with the amount of time left in the round and with the position where the fence was while Dorino was setting up that arm triangle, I did think maybe he could get to the end of the round, but nah, Burns squeezed too quick and Magny wasn't fucking around. He tapped as soon as he needed to.
Yeah, it was a pretty dominant win for Dorino. Good to see him back in the win column.
I don't think either guy really wanted this fight.
Burns wanted to fight in Brazil. He needed to be in the win column so that he could have some leverage to argue and get one of these other guys in. He's wanting Colby or Bilal. I think the Masvidal fight would be an easier one to push for. But Bilal is probably the most likely one to actually happen.
Well, assuming Colby comes back this year, I think the Colby fight's the one to make.
I don't know if Colby wants to deal with that.
Hasn't Magny already been calling out Bilal? And given that no one else wants to fight these dudes apart from Magny, I wouldn't be surprised if he got that one.
Magny? Who just lost? He's not getting Bilal, dude. Bilal's not fighting somebody who's just coming off a loss. Not a chance.
He's not going to be excited about it. But when everyone else has got a dance partner and everyone else is racking up wins while he's on the sidelines, I think he'll take what he's given.
Colby's not fighting Bilal, not fighting Gilbert Burns, dude. Colby's a smart guy. He does not want any of that smoke.
After that long of a layoff, like, you can't really call your own shots. Who do you think Colby's going to get?
I think after that he's going to ask for Neil Magny.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same thing. Like, it doesn't really do anything for your career at this point. So, I think Bilal's going to be the odd man out, and he's going to have to take Magny or someone else lower down. And I think Durinho is going to get that Colby fight if Colby's coming back this year. Otherwise, someone's got to fight someone. So, who the fuck knows?
But who's
But in
going
my
to fight
head, that makes
Masvidal?
the most sense.
And who's on first?
Who's on first? Yeah. Masvidal, I think, will just try to take the biggest payday he can. He's not really in contention anymore. No one's going to be like desperate to fight him other than to kind of take that name, take that scalp. So someone up and coming is going to have to put together a big win, or do something to kind of get some hype to make that one exciting. I don't know, like, has Ian Gary got a fight booked anytime soon? If he reels off a couple of big wins, a couple of knockouts or something, maybe someone like in the vein of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but if Masvidal's next fight is Ian Gary, then he is slept with someone's wife, pissed off some motherfucker.
No, he's just aged out of the division. He's
40 years old this year, I think.
Yeah, welterweight. That is pretty fucking crazy, and frankly, we just know he's not going to win a belt at this point.
This is true.
So it's all about the payday.
He'll always have the BMF belt.
That's true.
We got some other one-sided ass kickings to talk about, so let's talk about our next one-sided walloping.
Yeah, we got some good time out of that one for.
I know,
for
right?
What, I know it was pretty much all of the first round, but it felt like a 5-second fight to me.
I don't think Lauren Murphy's husband likes Lauren Murphy very much. Definitely don't think he likes her face. I don't think
anyone likes her face.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why he allowed, as one of her coaches, his wife to absorb 235 significant strikes from Josh.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought if she just fucks the face up enough, she has to get plastic surgery.
I doubt it. I think it was more just they knew that, you know, if Murphy had a road to victory here, it was
Going to be not accepting the fight.
No, it was going to be deep into the fight. It was going to be when both fighters are a little tired and maybe getting Andrade down and trying to submit her or something, trying to force a finish out somewhere. But she wasn't going to beat her on the feet. She wasn't going to land an accumulative amount of shots. The whole time they're telling her to like charge in, and it's not because they wanted to kind of lead with her face. It's because they wanted to give her an opportunity to get that level change in. And man, she got a fucking ass kick. But fair play to Laura Murphy. She never really looked panicked. She never really looked like she was throwing the game plan out the window. She was present. Yeah, she was present, committed to the game plan the whole way through. Showed a lot of toughness. And Andrade said towards the end of the fight, she had to slow down because her hands were hurting. I mean,
I can believe that. She was not pulling anything off those punches, man. She was throwing full fucking whack.
Yep. Well, she never does pull anything off though.
No,
Andrade
she's scary, dude.
Is a power puncher.
It's just I just kind of. As Laura Murphy deserves all the credit in the world for hanging in there. She never gives up on herself. She tried. She didn't. There were opportunities. There were multiple opportunities when no one would have blamed her if she just kind of shelled up, did the crouch down to the ground, you know, let the referee step in, and she didn't. It's a weird one though, because it's not one of those fights where I'd look at and say, oh, the ref really should have stopped it.
No.
It is one of those where it's like, no, that's a corner job. Like, the ref's not being given his opportunity. That's kind of on the corner to have a look at themselves and go, you know what, I don't think she's 2 rounds down. I don't think she's pulling this one out with a finish. Like, we need to be realistic here. She's fighting Andrade, who can go 5 rounds.
Okay, if you were the corner, when would you have thrown the towel in? Do you know what I mean? Because she's getting her ass kicked, but she's present in the fight the whole time. She's constantly doing everything you want to see from a fighter to kind of prove to you that they still want to be in this fight. They still believe they're going to be able to do something at some point. So, yes, I'm like...
honestly,
that fight should have been stopped somewhere along the line. But I'll be damned if I could tell you when I would have thrown the towel in.
so I mean, this is a whole conversation in MMA because of the fact that you only get half your money unless you win. Coaches have got a stake in this. You're not getting paid a lot. Every dollar counts. A lot of fighters will say, I'll fire my coaches if they ever stop the fight without my permission. I get that. If this was a boxing match, that fight would have been stopped. If this was a boxing match, I'm not saying it should be viewed as a boxing match, but what you would get a lot more of is a coach saying something after, let's say in that second round, to the fighter going, I'm going to give you either saying I'm going to stop the fight, or saying I'm going to give you a minute, and you need to show me in that minute that you are going to be able to do something that makes me think you've still got a chance in this. And if you get to a minute and it looks like what these first 2 rounds have looked like, I'm going to throw the fight off.
Yeah.
And that happens in boxing a lot.
But they only had a total of about a minute across 2 round breaks to really communicate with their fighter. So, I have a lot of empathy for
They
a
don't
corner.
get more time in boxing though, dude. Like,
well, yeah,
I know the rounds are shorter, so you get more breaks in between, but it doesn't change the fact that they could have seen that 2 rounds of what's happening with Lauren Murphy and say, listen, we're going to let you go back out there, 1 minute,
no,
fucking do something.
Yeah, but alright, so you would have stopped it after the second round?
No, I would have done exactly what I'm saying. I would have said to Lauren Murphy, you've got 1 minute to show me that you can win this fight. If not, I'm going to stop it.
Okay, that's the thing though, like, even in that third round, she's getting her ass kicked, but the body language, the movement, everything is what you kind of want to see from a fighter that's still trying to get back into that fight. And again, like, they have 30 seconds after the first and 30 seconds after the second. You know, they decided to spend that time telling Murphy how much they believed in her. You get 30 seconds in MMA.
You get a minute.
You get 30 seconds.
I time it, so you get a minute.
I swear it's 30 seconds, isn't it?
I guarantee you get a minute.
Either way, it's fuck all time.
And it's always more than a minute, because what happens is it's like an extra 10 seconds of everyone standing around before the ref goes.
Yeah, you get that Yoel Romero shit. But my point is, it's fuck all time. I don't know if I was at corner when I would have thrown that in. When I would have thrown the towel in.
The problem is there's no exact moment where you go and now the fight's over. It's just about having that awareness to go, my fighter's not going to win this. She's fighting probably, the second scariest girl in the division, but definitely the most dangerous girl into like the life-changing damage that she could cause you in a fight. And you have to kind of ask yourself at a certain point, it's like, well, let's say you're not even talking about like, fighter safety. Let's say if you're just trying to be pragmatic and go, well, okay, Lauren's in her late 30s, touching 40. Do we want her to lose this fight and be on a 6-month medical suspension before she can come back and start this road again? Or do we stop this now? Maybe she comes back in 4 months and loses less ground. And now I'm not saying that's how coaches should think. I'm just saying that these are the kind of like pragmatic and rational decisions that the fighter can't make, because the fighter should be focusing on doing everything they can to win. But that's kind of what you have coaches for. To protect yourself, to look at the bigger picture sometimes.
No, again, you look at it, you're like, the fight should have been stopped, but tell me when. It's just, I don't want to give a corner a hard time on that one, because I don't know when they should have thrown the towel in. You haven't been able to say when they should have thrown the towel in. It's just one of those unfortunate kind of things
her own corner came out, and I don't know if they've came out officially, but they said this to Anthony Smith, who was obviously there because he was the backup fighter, that they were really pissed off with the referee and felt that the referee completely failed Lauren Murphy. So you tell me, dude. So they clearly saw the fight and felt that the referee failed her by not stopping the fight at the numerous chances he did.
I think that's sour grapes in an emotional response, because we've both said, I don't know when the ref should have stopped the fight. I don't know when the corner should have stopped the fight. It was just an ass kicking.
But my point is that they had an awareness that this shouldn't be.
I think
what I mean?
that feels a lot like
I know what you're saying.
They're trying to shift blame, and they're trying to take some of the stink off of what. Because again, it's very, very easy to say, yeah, they should have stopped the fight, but when? So
I know what you're saying.
If you're in their corner, You can't tell me when you would have thrown him a towel. I can't tell you when I would have thrown him a towel. And if I was them getting interviewed about it afterwards, I would definitely be looking to shift blame because, it's a long, fucking stressful, emotional night. And at the end of it, these are the last fucking questions you want to be fielding.
Well, on a different note, Andrade is fucking good.
Yeah, Andrade looked great. She's always got that puncher's chance if she gets another shot at someone like Shevchenko. But to be honest, she thinks
the Zhang fight's more fun.
Yeah,
Zhang fight she deserves. The problem is nobody knew how good Zhang Weili was when.
Well, no, we knew how good she was, but we didn't know that she was going to be able to catch Andrade and knock her out.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of one of those punches. Andrade is talking the other way. She catches her hard and clean.
Andrade is better now than she was when she was the champion.
Yeah, and again, it was just a moment, It was just small margins. If she doesn't catch you with that fight, that punch, it's not like she was definitely going to knock her out somewhere in the next, 4.5 rounds. It's just one of those beautiful, magical moments in MMA. I think a rematch against Zhang Weili, a lot of fun, almost inevitably is going to go a lot differently. And it's a very winnable fight for either lady. And it's a fight that we can't lose as fans.
Very true.
I said after jinxing so many fights last week as well.
Zhang needs Zhang needs a fun title defense. Andrade is the one. No, good win for Andrade. Let's round up the main card. Johnny Walker. Listen, I picked Craig, but I said that this is a terrible matchup for him, and I can easily see Johnny Walker knocking him out in the first round, and that is pretty much what happened. Johnny Walker's a physical freak, and Paul Craig is not a good enough wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Craig caught that leg and held on to it, but all Walker's really got is that long frame and that power. So, he landed that one clean shot, and everything else afterwards was almost inconsequential. Craig was kind of on the way down.
This was the worst fight for Paul Craig. The absolute worst fight for him in the division.
Well,
there's better guys than Johnny Walker, but there's nobody where it's just like Paul Craig's deficiencies are most exposed.
Yes and no, because Walker can be wild and stupid, and to be honest, when he caught that kick, if he'd kind of raised the leg and looked to sweep, or just kind of run it down and got his head clean and the guard up or something, if he got Walker down, Walker was in all kinds of trouble. Then you're in Paul Craig's world. Paul Craig would have been looking to take that back and sink in the choke, so could have gone very fucking differently. Again, another magical MMA moment, just these small little margins. If Craig doesn't catch that leg, take half a second to kind of think about it and kind of leave his chin up, I don't know if Walker gets that first round. Well, Walker definitely doesn't get that first round knockout. He probably spends the rest of the round on his back or gets tapped.
It's Paul Craig's style as well, though, is he lives on that edge of risk and reward.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's going to pay off, sometimes it's not. He needs to believe in his striking more. I thought that in the Volkan fight as well. You could see that he's actually got some good striking. He just doesn't quite believe in himself to utilise it.
I didn't really get the chance.
Not in this fight, but I mean, that might have been if a man with more confidence maybe doesn't try and hang on to the leg, maybe is more willing to strike and try and set up takedowns a little. I mean, takedowns is the thing he's really missing, is wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. This is why, he was never going to let go of that leg. It was always going to be, great, here's my entry to win this fight. It's just, you got to remember that even when you're holding onto his leg as far out as it is, that wingspan, he can still clock you. So, a real shame for Paul Craig. I mean, fuck, if he'd won that fight, maybe won one more, maybe he could have been getting a bit of a courtesy title shot against Hill. I know Hill would like to get that one back.
Well, that's what happens though when you lose these big moments. We were talking about Paul Craig sneaking himself into that conversation. Couple of losses on the bounce, and facing being outside the top 10, having to fight all the unknown scary guys coming up again. Not easy, man. Not easy. That was our main card. 3 out of 5, I think, went Brazil's way. But the 2 that didn't were on the main card, which were the 2 main and co-main events, which never helps. Prelims we will run through a bit more quickly. No surprises in the prelim headliner. Shogun Rua went out as we expected via a brutal TKO loss.
Well, he did have his moment. He did sting Portiera there. Portiera defensively looked very fucking lapsed. I'm sure that is kind of the jitters and having a fight, a Brazilian legend in Brazil. So fair play for getting the job done, but he did get clocked early on there. I did think maybe Shogun was going to fucking roll back the years for a second.
Shogun's always dangerous, man. Even in his old age, the last thing that goes is power. But the young guy got the win. Shogun got his retirement. Finally said it's done. Got his big send off in Brazil. Good for him. Bruno Ferreira stuns me, stuns you, stuns everybody else. Flatlining RoboCop. Didn't see that one coming. But as you said previously on this very show, it's not a good way to think, having your chin tested is not a good way of measuring how good your chin is. It's a good way of demolishing it. And
well, we've also seen RoboCop get rocked before, and Jesus fucking Christ, the power on this kid, that wasn't like a loaded up shot. That was just a fast, clean shot. And watching the slow-mo from the reverse angle, the way you really see the punch ripple through the back of his neck. Fucking hell, this boy's got some power. Very smooth, as a switch stance fighter. I think probably he's not like a tweener or anything. Like, this is his weight class. Maybe a little small for some of the guys.
Not the biggest middleweight. That's the only thing you'd say.
But that kind of speed, power, and technique. I mean, maybe he could be a problem for just about anybody.
How tall is he?
It was 5'11".
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's on the smaller side of middleweight, but it's not impossible. And if you've got a speed advantage, anything can be done. RoboCop will be back. He just think he got surprised by this kid.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking fucking great until he got knocked out. But both fighters were looking good. This was a great fight. And RoboCop...
he's never in a bad fight, is he, RoboCop?
No, I love this guy.
Always entertainment. Tell you who else is always good entertainment. Thiago Moises gets back, gets a much needed win, good submission. Melzikiel Costa has got a skin condition, and I don't know what it is.
Vitiligo, isn't it?
Is it
It just looked like vitiligo to me.
I've heard that word before. I didn't know what condition it actually responded to.
It's the what's it? The melanoma. What's your skin pigment called? Melanoma.
Melanoma.
Isn't that the skin tumor? That's
melanin.
Skin cancer. Melanin. So yeah, it's just white people. You can literally get it later on in life. I remember a case of a very racist white South African lady going from white to black overnight and having to deal with that. But I've known several people with vitiligo. It's just kind of looks like that's kind of I think it's kind of a cool skin condition, to be honest. Yeah, that's what Michael Jackson tried to pretend he had as well.
I know, and you can see that
Michael Jackson did not have vitiligo.
No,
just putting that out there.
No,
but man, I thought Melk looked pretty fucking good.
Well, I'll be honest. I kind of thought he's done a good job of like blending some of the making it almost look like it's tattoos in certain spots.
Oh, I meant just in his fucking performance.
Oh,
he gave Moises some problems there. He's a veteran fighter. Was it like 20 something fights?
23 fights.
Didn't look that nervous. Looked very much up for the occasion and was doing a pretty good job. But Thiago Moises
shows the class.
Yeah, and you get replacement fired. You just got to beat who's in front of you. Fair play, Thiago.
Bang to the table. Okay, let's talk about the first of the Bond themes. Well, I mean, technically it's the second of the Bond themes, but it's the first one going in a down order. So this is the undefeated welterweight Bond theme who beat Munir Lizez. Which is a bit heartbreaking, man, because Munir Lizez was like our boy when we first saw him came in. And it's just gone a bit wrong for him. But
well, I mean, this one was just... I don't know why he kind of tried to roll through and give up the top position on that guillotine, but I guess it was just tight and he had to try and change something. This was just a great fucking choke. Just an opportunistic moment, snatch that neck. There's only so much you can fucking defend that. I mean, Jesus Christ, Volk needed a goddamn miracle. I think he just managed to slip his arm in enough against Ortega, but generally, people when they're in that tight, that's it.
That's all she wrote. It's also just unfortunate that, however impressive that win was, his brother just completely upstaged him an hour earlier in the card.
Yeah.
We're going to jump through. I know it's not in order, but let's talk about Ismail Bonfim. Because we had Terence Smith. This was one of our picks that we got wrong. Me and Josh tied, by the way. I think we went 11-4.
10 and 5 we were.
Oh, 10-5, sorry. 10-5. But Ismail Bonfim made Terence McKinney look average.
Yeah, I think the first time he knocked out the mouthpiece, McKinney was a little too aggressive after that and didn't really kind of go back to kind of good fundamentals. And if you want to make it a 50-50 brawl and you're on the other guy's turf and he's like G'd up to fuck for it, like that's already a dangerous thing. But Bonfim just looked streets ahead.
Faster and more technical. That's the problem.
And
McKinney,
more powerful.
yeah.
I mean,
And that's double knee to the face.
Yeah, that
Knockout of the night.
I know that the positions were reversed, but it kind of reminded me of the Stevens Bermudez one. It's just such a beautiful kind of switch knee little like jump and
Yeah, lands it whilst McKinney's mouth guard is out as well. I was having all sorts of thoughts thinking, oh man, the guy's teeth are all going to be fucking all over the place. But landed actually in as good a place as it could have, knocking him out.
just
Whilst
like
he
right
had
on the
no,
neck,
he had no mouth guard. Got that one wrong. Shame for Terence McKinney. Nicholas Darby.
Well, do you want to jump back up to?
Sorry, yeah, I did. Let's talk about JT
I was worried you were going to do this when we skip fights.
I've done this before, haven't I?
This was a big step up for Almeida. Abdurakhimov. I know he's lost 4 in a row now, but he is like a decent fucking heavyweight. And
Jelton Almeida's a very scary man.
Yeah, Abdurakhimov pissed away too much energy, trying to get up from bottom there. It was all power, no technique. Jelton Almeida just clinical. This was one of those fucking one-sided ass whippings. I mean, Jesus Christ, was it 44 strike differential.
Wow.
Abdurakhimov was uncredited with the one significant strike. This was ugly.
Do you think Jelton Almeida can keep doing this at heavyweight, or do you think eventually, once you get to the real top-ranked guys, it's smarter for him to go to light heavyweight? With his frame, with the fact he's fighting at like sort of 230.
I mean, he has said that for now he's committed to heavyweight. I'd be interested to see, because he is faster and probably a little bit bigger than the likes of, say, Chris Daukaus. It's just, if I'm him, I'm kind of looking at the light heavyweight division right now and thinking,
I run through that division.
Yeah, well, maybe not run through, but like that's the quickest route to a bout. Heavyweight, there's a bit of congestion.
The issue for me with heavyweight is what happens when you get to a Curtis Blades.
Yeah,
well, I believe that you will beat the Abdurakhimows of this world, the Chris Daukas's of this world. But with heavyweight, there's just this line, and it's like winnable fights. I'm doing well, and we've seen this with Chris Daukaus, man. He looks like he was such a contender, knocking out Abdurakhimov in extremely impressive fashion, and then suddenly he comes up against a real guy, and it's a first round knockout. And then another real guy, and it's 5 seconds into the second round knockout.
Yeah.
And then, who did he fight most recently? Biggie Boy. Jairzinho.
Rosenstrike.
And it's another disaster, and you realise it's like, man, when you get these guys...
And that's one of the smaller guys as well, technically. Yeah, if I'm Almeida, I don't need to make a decision right now. I'm going to wait and see what they book at light heavyweight, but more importantly, I'm going to see how John Jones looks. Against Garn, but he probably beat the likes of Volkov, taking it to the ground. But Blades, Aspinall, Pavlovich, obviously Garn, Miocic, Jones, a lot of very talented, very big, scary athletes to get through. Light heavyweight, you're kind of more the phenom, and with that well-rounded skill set. It's not necessarily that it's well rounded, it's just that he's so elite both in submissions and in knockout power you got to figure that a lot of the light heavyweights that kind of work as more general all rounders or a bit more one dimensional, you're gonna have a better time against them. I just feel like 205 would be a quicker path for him, but if he's committing to heavyweight for now, like how's that first weight cut gonna go? So it's an interesting one, but why not wait and see? He's got time.
He's winning fights. He's finishing guys. He's got nothing to worry about. Tell you who else has got nothing to worry about right now is Cody Stamann, who, egg on our face, picking a guy I'd never seen fight before. I feel like a bit of an idiot. I thought Cody fought a beautiful fight, man. I thought his boxing looked really crisp. I thought his wrestling was good. I thought he did everything he needed to, man. Just looked like a seasoned vet.
Yeah, and Lacerda didn't look bad. There was a lot of hype behind him. It did seem like a big ask for Stamann to come down to Brazil and do the business, but fair play.
Gets it done. Dalby gets it done as well. Beat another guy, beat a Brazilian, Wally Alves. Wally Alves looked a bit knackered by the end. Dalby just threw more, caused more problems, landed more, won the fight on effort. Josiane Nunes versus Zara Fern is one of the weirdest fights I've ever seen.
Well, I mean,
that height difference, man.
Look, round one, everyone always kind of like looks at Fern and they're like, yeah, man, like big, powerful, like she could be a fucking problem. And then you remember that her record's kind of garbage for a reason. She just doesn't have it in her to go 5 rounds at a time. She doesn't have it in her to go 3 rounds in a night. Just Josiane Nunes had to kind of fight her way back into this fight, but by the end of it, she was the one with all the power, and I thought she was going to maybe put Fern away because, well, frankly, there was fuck all defense on display here, and there was 2 tired, sloppy ass fighters by the 3rd round.
This was a comical fight, though. This almost, I mean, she should not fight a heavyweight, a featherweight, man. It is just that when you're having to throw a punch like that to hit somebody in the face.
Without Megan Anderson, there's no one else that she's going to have to fight kind of in those circumstances. So, and if you don't mind getting your ass whipped by Amanda Nunes at 45, I mean, it's the quickest way to the title shot again.
True.
So,
I mean, it's not like you're going to fight somebody different for the belt at 35, so...
Yeah, and how many, let's be honest, I don't see Nunes defending the featherweight belt more than once, if she does it again at all. And then they're probably going to shut down the division. So you want to get in there quick if you want to get a title fight on your resume.
Well, we will quickly say that Daniel Marcos also won the opening fight of the night against Simon Oliveira, and that was the card. Because I do want to get onto some news, and Nunes is going to have another defence for bantamweight title. Set to be at 285, set to be against Irina Aldana, which really feels like this is you know what I mean? This is like you're watching a fucking Japanese anime, okay, and you've watched all the main series, but it turns out there's a filler episode at the end, and it's like, oh yes, that one enemy that was a side character that you didn't see die, you must now go back and finish off before the story is fully complete.
Well, all champions go through that though. Everyone has to fight fights that, you know, if you lose them, it's horrendous, and if you win them, no one gives a fuck. You know, when she lost to Juliana Pena, we thought that was essentially a filler fight. Matt Serra beat GSP. People thought that was a filler fight. Just these are inevitable.
I wouldn't even say filler fight. What I mean is this feels like after this, who the fuck else is there even to fight and beat at bantamweight anymore? Like, you beat Aldana. The only other name that was circling around in immediate contention was Ketlin Vieira. And she's just lost to Rocky Pennington that you decimated the last time you fought her. So, this is... You beat Aldana. Maybe do the trilogy with Shevchenko.
And maybe, assuming she wins 1 or 2, trilogy with Pena. But that's pretty much it. 35.
I was thinking
and 45.
Maybe 45 you get the Kayla Harrison fight as your retirement fight or something, like the last one.
Do you think they'd even be interested in doing that at this point?
She'd need to. This is the problem. If Kayla Harrison hadn't lost in the PFL, I think they'd be already booking that fight. But it doesn't have the same pizzazz if she's not coming in as on a win as a champ. You know what I mean? It's
also, again, she only fought at 45, I think, once.
The rest of 55.
And yeah, technically she could make it, but she's not a spring chicken, and you'd have to pay her a lot of money to come down to 45. I think it's just I didn't think that was ever going to happen, frankly. So yeah, I think look, she probably take one bullshit fight at 45, and probably two semi bullshit fights at 35, or maybe do the Shevchenko trilogy. But again, like Shevchenko has been doing 25 for a while, coming back up to 35 is going to be a bit of a culture shock. It's just I don't see it as being the most competitive fight in that trilogy if they do it. It's like you got to sell some pay-per-views, you got to feed your kids. Like she's going to take some fights. I think maybe 3 more defenses and done. But they're not going to be sexy.
Well, Shevchenko's got her own fight to worry about. She's going to be booked, most likely also on 285, to fight Alexa Grasso. I like Alexa Grasso. I've wanted to see Alexa Grasso get the title shot. I kind of would have liked to see Grasso have to fight one more, just for her own sake of getting as much practice in as possible. I don't like Grasso's chances in that fight. I don't think she's got enough size. I don't think she's got enough in any one area to really cause Shevchenko problems, but we've been wrong in the past.
Yeah, I think it's more the division's kind of been cleared out. She's got to fight somebody, and it's like, why not take the title fight too early? Because you've got time to come back. Shevchenko's not going to be around forever. They can't all wait until they're Shevchenko ready.
Yeah, I get you.
Otherwise you're just going to end up clearing out contenders, and there are going to be half as many kind of potential fights for Shevchenko, even if they are somewhat uncompetitive on paper.
Well, either way,
that's the problem with dominant champions.
it's a
everyone comparatively just looks a little bit worse than they probably deserve.
no, that's a fair point. And that pretty much ends our UFC or MMA discussion for the podcast. I will very quickly, before we depart, say congratulations to Josh's mighty Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. They did not let this week off, affect the momentum. If anything, they came in looking back to themselves.
Well, we had so many key injuries, so giving Lane an extra week to heal up, huge. And I don't think hurts his shoulders 100%, but he's still throwing well. He didn't have to scramble too much. He was getting down when he needed to. But the run game looked fucking great. The O-line looked the fucking shit. And I'm a bit worried that AJ Brown did look like he pulled a hammy there. But we'll see how that goes.
Well, no UFC this weekend, but there is the championship playoff round.
We've got the 49ers kicking off 9 p.m. on Sunday. That's exciting. I get to watch that live. And
how do you feel about that? Obviously, you're playing the other best team.
Yeah, whether it was the Niners or the Cowboys, I wasn't too worried about it. It's going to be a one-game situation. We're at home. We have a great team. It is what it is. And more crucially, Bournemouth finally stopped fucking losing. So, we did blow a 1-goal lead and basically dropped essentially 5 points because the game was a 6-pointer against Forest. But we got that new boy in Dango, and he looks the absolute business. So my luck as a sports fan's finally fucking turning around.
Dolphins obviously didn't made the playoffs and then got knocked out, but the Bills also got knocked out, so we don't have to deal with a team potentially winning the Super Bowl.
You see that game?
Division. Oh mate, it was glorious.
Pretty weird game.
Such a weird game. I'll say this: all of the divisional round playoff games were a little weird. Like, the only one that was a really competitive game that was close was the Cowboys versus the 49ers. And that was the one I didn't watch live. I watched that on highlights.
Same. Yeah, it was just on too fucking late. But man, the snow in that game as well. I thought if anyone was going to do better at a snow game, it would have been the Bills.
But no.
You see, Diggs had left the stadium before the rest of the team had even got into the locker room.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be a big name wide receiver available in the off-season.
And Mahomes, man, might not even play this weekend. High ankle sprain.
Oof.
So it's all opening up for the Bengals to make another Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, man.
Back to back.
And I'd be excited for them to win their first Super Bowl, but there's a good chance they'll be playing us, so they can get fucked.
Other news, Arsenal beat Man United. We are top of the league and we are 5 points clear with games in hand. 11
Nice
points
place to
clear
be.
of Man United with a game in hand. 17 points clear of 5th place with a game in hand. Trossard signed. Backup defender signed. I'm in dreamland, mate.
Yeah, I mean, this is the year, right?
This
And
is-
with such a young fucking team as well.
We're the youngest team in the league, and we're
I know,
first.
it's a very, very good fucking place to be. I mean, what was it? How long's Arteta been manager now? And
Approaching 4 years. No, 3 years. 3 years. He took over December 2019.
in being able to build things your way and having that consistency, and now also having the young team and everything.
And everyone buys in.
Yeah, it does feel like you've got like a long term contender there. You know, this is like. When was the last time you guys were in Champions League finals? Like 2006?
2006.
Yeah. And
It's been a
now
long road.
it could be a case that you guys are in the latter stages for the next like 5, 6, 7 years. So
Well, here's the thing as well. He's built a style, a model, and a type of player that we want to attract. So what we're already seeing is the players that he's been bringing in the last couple of transfer windows, they've all been delivering. There hasn't been this like 72 million on Nicolas Pepe and then he doesn't work out because it was one guy's managerial idea, but then
Yeah.
a different manager comes in and it's a different tactic. No, it's everything is being done in the right way. And so there's nothing but belief that we can keep this going. Not to say that we're going to win the league or every year, but just consistently be producing good quality football, playing football in the right way, with a direction. Mate, I am
and at least being in the title race most years.
exactly, or at
That's
least
what you
relevant.
really want.
Relevant is the key word. So 2023, mate, in sports, the 3 sports that I follow, so far, I'm pretty happy. Guys, that is our show for today. No UFC this weekend, so we'll be back with a sort of podcast / pick show next week. And that's pretty much it. Like the video,
Yep.
subscribe, new channel, MMA Split Podcast, check it out. And as always, bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Trufo. We'll
Bye,
catch you
Laurie.
next week.
Bye, Dave.